head's touching the top of the camera, Josh. I look really tall.
I was walking behind Zach yesterday, and
Thanks, Bri. That's better.
I said, "Oh boy, buddy, you've really grown." And he said, "No, I just need a haircut." So maybe you just need a haircut, David.
It's true. Maybe I do.
So I see you fully messing around with the computer over there, and I have a hard time knowing what to look at. I want to look at you, the computer, the camera.
Sure.
But welcome to Java with Josh, our third edition, July of 2023.
The obligatory.
Cheers.
That's more for the thumbnail for August's job.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, we have to do it. Yeah.
Slurping into the microphone.
Slurping.
Good job.
Thanks to our sponsor who didn't sponsor our coffee, Brewpoint Coffee, Elmhurst.
So, I've talked multiple times this year about taking my kids to the water park, and it's been in our newsletter. We talk about it in our podcast, and why I was so excited, I have fond memories, especially my dad and I at a water park. We just had a freaking blast doing it. Well, this weekend we have a family bucket list every summer, and this weekend they wanted to cross something off, and they crossed off going to Santa's Village. Now, I don't know if you as a child remember going to Santa's Village.
Of course.
It is an amusement park for like 3 to 7-year-olds. My son is 9, and both boys are 9, and they still love Santa's Village. And they have a little kid water park that's there. And for the first time ever, Maggie and I got to race down water slides, and it was as much fun as I had possibly hoped it could be.
Yes.
And so,
well, because she was scared last summer, so you talked it up, kind of like, "Hey, we're going to do this."
It up, and we were good. We went to Santa's Village last summer, and it was too cold to do the water park. I had once when I was going to go down a slide with Zach in like an inner tube, like a double inner tube, and then lightning came, and we're like the next people to go on, and so we couldn't. Like, it's been like this downfall of things we couldn't do, and finally we got to. So it made my soul smile. And we're going on vacation next week, and there's water park in our future there. So I really hope that hope it stands up for it.
You know, I made a reservation to bring me and my new Furby to a water park. And I got him a little poncho, a little raincoat.
Yeah, he's battery operated, so I hope you're okay.
He is. He'll be fine. Yeah, they're built to last. I mean, he endured 25 years of not being mass produced. He can endure a water park.
That's good.
Brian has no idea what we're talking about.
So, well, before we get going here, because we got a really fun topic to go through today. Let's go through something unfun. Let's go through compliance. So, today especially, I'm going to go through some technical things. I'm going to go through some market updates. And as always, this is not specific advice to you. This is general information that is to be used as education. If you have questions about how it applies to your specific situation, of course, get back to us. Hey, Brian, we need to adjust this camera.
Wait, no,
here.
I can do it.
Oh, man.
Oh, wait, let me get my big arm out of the way. There we go. See? Wow. Technology. Compliance, man.
So, compliance, man.
Yeah.
But so that is that. We got that out of the way. But
so, Josh, Java with Josh, I'm going to give a quick recap on what this is and why we're doing it. Okay. So Java with Josh is a monthly live show streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and new last month, our website.
Oh, cool.
You go to FSRwealth/Java-with-Josh. And it is essentially just, like I mentioned in the first episode, the fans demand more Josh. So we're giving them more Josh once a month live. And it's going to be a few minutes of him and I bantering back and forth because we banter. It's going to be followed up by a 10 to 15-minute presentation on a super timely topic for retirees and soon-to-be retirees. Today, you have a topic at hand.
I do. And I think that, compared to other presentations that we give, videos or podcasts that we do, this one is very timely. In fact, a month or two from now, this may not be of value or importance, whereas now they're designed to be timely.
Super timely. And then we thought we end the show with some Q&A from either pre-submitted questions from people or anybody who submits a question live on Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah. And we have a few Q&As that were pre-submitted, but if you have anything, they can put comments down and we'll see them as they come up, and feel free to ask us anything you want.
Yep. And then what we ask you to do is these are streamed live on YouTube. So please subscribe to the FSR Wealth Strategies YouTube channel. Click that little bell so you're notified when we go live, because you don't want to miss our live show. When is August's show, Josh?
Oh, I have this at the end of my
Well, we're going to give it
notes.
twice.
All right. Wednesday, August 16th.
Okay, mark
It's
your
my
calendar.
brother's birthday. He turns 40 that day.
Oh, so nice.
Happy birthday, James.
Happy birthday. All right. And then one little piece of housekeeping here, Josh. Would you like to talk about Lombard Lagoon?
So we have gotten back to doing timely workshops at in different facilities. The Lombard Lagoon is with the Lombard Park District. It's the little boathouse that's there. And we're doing a talk on Social Security and taxes. And if you're a client, you are welcome to come. If you are not a client or have any interest whatsoever, it is strictly educational. There is nothing sold. It is all about retirees, taxes, and Social Security. And I like to think it's one of the more informational presentations that we give there. So,
yeah, we just had a few last week, and they were a hoot
they
for
were.
sure. But go to FSR Wealth/SS, SS for Social Security, and there is a form for you to register. And from there, young Michael will blow up your phones and your emails to make sure that you know the details of the event. And yeah, Java with Josh.
So let's get into the meat of today here. And what I wanted to do is I really wanted to recap the first half of 2023 and kind of see where we're going and what we might be able to expect for the second half of the year. It's weird to think we're in mid-July already. And it's been an eventful first half of the year. Unlike 2022, though, where we had a lot of eventful issues, the markets in 2023 have actually responded quite positively, and they've even advanced despite of the volatility that we've seen this year. So as we move into the second half of 2023, we still think volatility is going to be there. But I believe the potential for a strong finish to the year is definitely on the table. So let's dive a little deeper into this here. So,
and hey, even if the markets crash by the end of the year, we got our Furbies.
We got our Furbies. Well, that's not going to make the listeners feel any better here. So, first, the good news. After a disappointing 2022, in the first quarter, markets came off of their October lows, and both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are up about 20% from those October time period. And that means they're both officially out of bear market territory, even has some people talking about a potential new bull market. I don't know if we're quite there yet. We'll talk about that as we close up here. But that's really good news. The other good news here is that the consumer price index for May, actually, this is the reading that shows inflation. So consumer price index measures the cost of goods, and the government releases these every month. But May went to 4% year over year. And that is the lowest inflation in 2 years. And what that means is that the Fed raising interest rates has actually started to do its job by combating the rising cost of goods. So that is good news. Now, the other bit of good news is that the job market remains strong. It's really hanging tough. In May, we added 339,000 jobs. And to put that in perspective, it sounds like a lot of jobs. That means our unemployment rate is at 3.7%. It's a bit higher than the first quarter, but compared to historical averages, that is extremely, extremely low. And it's funny, that sounds like really good news. Unemployment, you want people working and you want all these things, but the Fed is actually looking for a higher unemployment rate before they stop raising interest rates. So when we see unemployment numbers like that, it actually, for those of us hoping for the Fed to stop raising interest rates, it's not something that we're grateful for. So on the meh side of things, the first quarter gross domestic product, you hear the term GDP, is a measure of our output as an economy. And the growth came in at what I heard one guy describe as anemic at 1.3%, in which that is down. The fourth quarter of 2022 was 2.6%. It's not a surprise. We've been talking about a recession and all the volatility. So that decrease isn't a surprise. What I'm really waiting for is to see what the second quarter GDP numbers come in at. Those get released here in the next couple of weeks, usually towards the end of July. So that'll be a big thing to look at. Now, the next thing is, and this is a big one. We talked a lot about this. The Fed hiked interest rates 2 more times in the second quarter. It took the Fed funds rate from pretty much 0 up to over 5%. The higher rates have really affected everything from mortgage rates, which you see, housing prices and mortgage rates, and to credit card payments, which have hit consumers especially hard as they keep spending and using credit cards to pay for day-to-day expenditures. Now, in 2022 and in 2021, we saw a lot of high consumer spending, and a lot of that was triggered because of the extra money people had from the pandemic, either by not spending money or because of the fact that they got stimulus payments. But what's happened is as that has run out, we seem to keep spending, but now we're spending it on credit card debt, and because consumer debt has really skyrocketed in the last year. So that is that's kind of a big one there.
Hey, Josh, take a breath. Take a sip of coffee. We have a comment from a listener.
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to see it?
I do. What?
Oh, it's from Carlos Schmidt. It's great to see you, Jolly Fellows Live. See?
I think that's your son.
People love us.
I think your son is commenting
You
there.
think so? He's actually at White Sox baseball camp this morning.
You let him go to White Sox baseball
Yeah, because it's half the price as Cubs camp.
Hey, man, that's like growing up as a kid. At Elmhurst College, they had Michael Jordan basketball camp, but I got to go to B.J. Armstrong.
Yes, B.J. Exactly right. Me too.
But
Me
it
too.
was just as good. So Michael, I think I saw Michael still the same amount of times.
Oh yeah,
so.
and Brian's a Southsider. Man, they gave him 2 free tickets, a hat, a shirt, a pendant, baseball cards. Like the Cubs would be like, it's just an honor for you to be at our camp. So I mean, it's,
you're gonna pay for that.
Yeah,
honor.
it's a pretty good thing. So thank you, Mrs. Schmidt, for that lovely message.
So, let's get to some other industry news. It's the banking closures in March. After we had 2 banking closures in March, we talked extensively about that. But regulators also closed First Republic Bank in early May. The closings at that point in time triggered a sharp decline in bank stock prices, and it kind of led to an increased fear that the banking industry was headed toward a crisis that felt eerily similar to the 08-09 time period. Those fears, luckily, have mostly subsided, and although some banks remain vulnerable to closures, particularly those with money tied up in lower-yielding, longer-term securities, we're not quite as fearful as we were back then. So we've talked a lot about interest rates over the last year and really the last few months extensively. The whole last Java with Josh was all about that, and that's for good reason, because we talked about how the Fed has raised rates 10 consecutive times, taking them from near 0, like we talked about, up to over 5%. And that is historic. So there was lots of talk and conjecture about what the Fed would do at its June meeting. On one hand, the declining inflation that we talked about was good. But on the other hand, jobs were, still high. There was less unemployment than they wanted. The consumer price index was still high. Consumer spending was still strong, which the Fed doesn't like that. And so there is a lot of talk in regards to what they would do. So they did not raise rates for the first time in over a year. So that was good news. But the comments from the committee members seemed to make it seem like it was more of a pause than anything else. And in fact, the Fed is meeting here very soon, and I would expect that the July to get another 1/4 point increase. So that is something that we're watching quite closely.
It's definitely affecting the housing market, I would assume.
Oh, it's affecting everything.
Yeah.
It's affecting credit card rates, mortgage rates, really everything. But if you look at spending, even we joked a year ago about the cost of eggs, comparing it to the cost of gold, and you can get eggs now cheap again. So we don't know where everything is going to come in at, and we do dig into each individual area, but that interest rate rise, it hurts. It hurts at home, and it hurts companies. So there's a lot of things we look at for that. So, all right, last bit of little news of what went on here. The debt ceiling debate. It was a big market mover in the second quarter, and this one personally drives me nuts because Congress took the decision again whether or not to raise the debt ceiling right down to the wire, and finally reached an agreement just days before the U.S. was about to default on what it owed. That crisis was avoided at the last moment, but the debt ceiling mess was a potential, what I called self-inflicted wound that our already precarious economy did not need. Now, we got through it, and we seem to be strong because of it, or even in spite of it, but it was something that I did not like to see out there. So,
Here, you know what? Let me 1 second.
Yeah.
Let me try to adjust this really quick. Keep turning it away. Let's see if we can. There, I think that angle will be able to hear you more because when you turn to look at me, because I'm hard not to look at.
you are really hard not to look at.
Like I'm gorgeous. Like you're like, whoa. This might actually help.
Sorry for those of you that are sounding like you're in a weird wind tunnel with me.
I wonder what it would be like, Brian, if you had like, what is it called? The Apple AirPod thing where it's like the spatial sound. Oh, that's cool.
Going from ear to ear.
Yeah.
So, what does this mean for you? What does this mean for our retirees? As we discussed, markets are moving upwards, and with some of the major indices clearing over 20% from their lows. And it has some people talking about a new bull market. Now, a bull market is an extended period of steady rises, and I don't know if we're quite there yet. We're still waiting on some data, like I said, to talk about what the economy did in July. And despite some of the uncertainty, we're still optimistic about the second half of the year. And we're hopeful that if a recession does happen, it will be mild and short-lived. But like everything, there's no guarantees inside of that. And even though we're experiencing great market growth, it may not be time to shift from that bear market mindset, especially with the short-term events that can continue to rattle markets. I don't know if anyone knows this yet, but we got a presidential election coming up, and the volatility that comes into those time periods is not something that we want to really mess around with and get overly emotional and overly aggressive with. So, but that's kind of what we're seeing at the end of the year. It's for the first time, the analysts are we watched a mid-year review, and some of the best economists in the country talked, and most of them agreed we had a good run coming at us at the second half of the year. But there were still a couple that said, nope, it's going to be a bad second half of the year. And these are some of the smartest economic brains out there. So they don't really. Yeah,
you were one of them.
They did not ask me.
Well, you were on vacation though, so they didn't want to interrupt you.
The water park with Maggie. Yeah,
I get it.
So it's a lot of the uncertainty is still there, and it probably always will be. That will be there. So
remember, you said you're going to work on your ums. You haven't.
No, I have not. I can't not. So
you're perfect just the way you are.
Somebody tell my wife. Can we go back to my slide, Dave? Because I want to. Yeah. It's just a colorful picture. Slides. I like this one.
Slides, man.
What should people be thinking about as we go into the second half of this year? And we've been preaching this for the last couple years, and I'm not changing my tune. Now is the time that you want to get back to basics. What we've experienced in market growth from really March of 2009 through the end of 2021 is the oddity. It's the unprecedentedness. What we've seen recently with the volatility and the ups and downs, that is a much more normal market that's out there. For a lot of retirees, this is the first time that you've really been paying attention to your money, that you've seen markets like this because of how good 2009 through 21 was. Now, what does that mean when I say get back to the basics? What it means is that you want to seek out low fees. You want to focus on diversifying your assets. You want to make sure that your portfolio is aligned with your risk tolerance. We want to know about where your money is going to come from. You want to make sure you've got a good foundation for your income as it needs to come out. And looking at all of those things, you've heard us talk about the retirement planning process, how it takes into all the different things you have to take in consideration. getting back to the basics now more than ever is extremely, extremely important. So
Couldn't agree more.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. So
There it is. There it is.
there it is. It's a thought. I should be able to think without filling verbal space. At least that's what my high school speech coach taught me. And
How you
apparently
remember
he
these.
failed on it.
We instead of a swear jar, you need to have an jar.
An jar.
Yeah.
We'd fill it up pretty fast.
It would be really fast.
So
So what do you think? Is your presentation wrapped up? You wanna
that's
jump
all
to-
the prepared stuff I have.
Okay.
It
It was enthralling. I'm just saying.
you love this.
I did.
Stuff. You love it.
I love every bit of it.
So
You ready to move on to some Q&A?
I do.
Because I know
do.
people's coffee's probably starting to get a little lukewarm, so you don't want to do that.
You got an iced coffee.
I do, always. We have a live question from our friend from the first episode, Mr. Pradeep.
Ah.
Yeah, would you like me to put the question up on the screen?
If it's appropriate.
Only 7 swear words, so I think we're good. All right. So from Mr. Pradeep says, "Hi, Josh. Does your crystal ball show anything about the interest rates coming down, and is any guess about when it might occur?"
Pradeep, this is one of my favorite things to crystal ball on, and the ums are driving me nuts. Sorry.
Sorry.
But the interest rates, I actually think we're going to start seeing a decrease by the end of the year. But that can change. If we see the economy stay as strong as it is, that may be out the window. The next month, the next quarter is going to be really telltale on that. We've been talking, the economists have been talking about a possible recession now for really ever. And for the first time in a long time, we're not seeing it as strong. People, you saw my comments that we're hopeful that we might have a short-lived recession. And when we see things like that, they may hold interest rates a little bit where they are. So I think we will see a leveling off. I think we're going to see a rate rise, this week. Then I think we're going to see a long, prolonged pause with possibly a decrease into the future, because getting to where we are right now has caused a lot of pain in different sectors of the market.
Why must you needlessly complicate
I don't even know what you just
everything?
hit.
Oh, I hit the elf button. That was a long answer.
Well, I told him it was one of my favorite things
Yeah,
to
that's
crystal
true.
ball on.
That's true.
So.
Thank you, Pradeep. Appreciate you engaging with us. A couple other questions. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. This is from Miss Kathy. You guys talk a lot about the benefits of Roth conversions. Yeah, he talks a lot about Roth conversions.
Other than interest rates, is my favorite.
Yeah, though you didn't mention Roths today, but you do in every workshop for sure. When is the best time for me to do a Roth conversion? Oof. Well, we have to know your situation, but go ahead.
Dave, I'm so proud of you.
I know.
You have to know your situation.
Plus, we got a compliance guy here, so we got to be careful.
So when we talk about when to do Roth conversions, it's a really interesting question. And for a lot of, so if you're still working and if you don't know what your income is going to be throughout the year, and why would you not know what your income is going to be? Because A, you're still working, B, maybe you have a job that your income fluctuates. Maybe there's things that might occur throughout the year. Also, if you have investment income, so if you have dividends and capital gains and interest and things like that, sometimes we don't even know what those are going to be until we get closer to the end of the year. The safest time to do it is towards the end of the year. It's in the fourth quarter of the year. That's when we do the majority of ours for our clients. Now, that being said, there's other times to do it as well. When you see a big market drop, that could be a great time to do Roth conversions, because you're converting the same dollar amount and you get more shares converted. And also, if you have consistent income, if you're a retiree and it's just RMDs and Social Security, which is a lot of people, then you can convert anytime you want. Now, the reason we talk about that is because conversions are something that you can't go back on. So if you make a mistake, you can't reverse it anymore. So understanding that is the key. And like you said, Dave, we have to get to know their situation a little bit better.
Yeah. Take a nice big sip of coffee. It is Java with Josh.
I'm gonna finish this whole coffee.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do bourbon with Josh later.
That's a different talk.
Oh,
at that
yeah,
point.
sure is. All right. We have a Mrs. Nancy.
Miss Nancy.
Mrs. Nancy.
Okay.
No last names. Oh man, I can answer this. When is the best time to start my Social Security? Well, Nancy, go to assuming you live in the area, go to fsrwealth.com/SS and register for our upcoming workshop at Lombard Lagoon.
Lombard Lagoon.
Lombard Lagoon.
Boy, that was a thrown in there at us, wasn't it?
Wow, that was perfect. Yeah, thank you for the softballs. Is that they call it easy questions? The softball
Softballs?
questions. Yeah.
In fact, you and I were talking that we would do a Social Security webinar coming up and being able to talk just about Social Security. That is the number one question we get besides who do I talk to for Medicare? The question we get is, when should I start Social Security? It's because every single person almost that we talk to has that implication into it. So that's a great question. I'll give you a rough answer. It totally depends. There are so many nuances that comes into it. I like to say that Social Security decision-making is equal parts science to art. And if you go to my workshop, you'll hear if you really only care about taking the government for as much money and don't care about how it works with your situation, go to Google, type in Social Security calculator. But if you want to know more about how it applies to your specific situation, we've got a lot of different variables that we look at and consider.
So people can't see me. Does this annoy you if I start doing this in the middle of your talk? Like start. I am a child.
Understand you.
No one understands me. Last question is, is this you, Brian?
Did Brian submit a question?
He might have. He's trying to trip us up on compliance. See? All right. What advice would you give to someone just starting out in their career? So not related to today's topic, but that's okay. This is a good question.
We actually get that a lot from people who they're like, can you talk to my child or my grandchild? Or would you give them some advice, talk to them on the phone? And it's actually quite simple. The first thing for almost everybody, the most important thing is just to save. So just start saving. I don't care if it's your 401k, if it's a savings account, just start saving. And then we say, if you're going to invest, do it as cost effectively as possible. So do it as cheap as you can and don't let emotions get into consideration. So if this is retirement money, if this is 401k money, set it aside as aggressive as you're comfortable with it, and then just rebalance it and don't look at it, because emotions are where people get hurt. Now, once you get in comfortable savings and once you understand like you have different spots of things you're saving for, then we can talk about some more of the advanced fundamentals. But the first thing is just save.
Like I'm saving for my arcade, remember?
That's what, yeah, you talk a lot about that.
I do talk a lot about that.
How's that going?
It's going really well, actually. Thank you for asking. We've hit up all our questions and no more live questions. So we answered 4. Good job.
Pretty good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So really quick, before you kind of wrap things up, Josh, again, Wednesday, August 16th, 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, Java with Josh, episode 4. Right?
Looking forward to it.
Yep. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button. I mean, that way you'll be notified, just in case you don't get our emails of when we go live. And hit that little bell there to be notified. Carla Schmidt, she clearly subscribed to our channel. So thank you, Carla.
Well, Dave,
Yeah.
I appreciate all the work you put in to make this look good. And for those of you that are listening, I hope you're got to enjoy your coffee. And maybe next month I won't as much. We'll see about that.
Yeah, it's possible you won't, but you probably will. So
We'll see.
what are you gonna do? All right, Josh. So see you in a month, buddy. Oh wait, you probably see me in like 5 minutes.
5
but-
minutes, yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Bye.